that part of the reason we are in a crippled state is because we have this culture that has this narcissism, this focus on self, which is advanced through corrupt practice, that it doesn't matter, it's about me, it's about me. But let me tell you, African philosophy and true progress really is anchored on what the South Africans like to call Ubuntu. I am because we are. When we focus obsessively on ourselves, then the greater whole is lost. And I think a very important value, and I'll skip along because time is running, is that really truly one of our problems is that the simple life is frowned on in our society. The simple life. I don't remember exactly how it is said, but I think it's again South Africans who like to make the point about how we take so much trouble to take money that is not ours, to buy things we don't like, to impress neighbors we don't like. And so if only we come to a realization that the challenge that we have now is a challenge of creating an environment of harmony in which we can create enough wealth to expand, bake this cake. Just look at the endowments of our country and look at how we are failing to accomplish what we could of claiming the promise of Nigeria, because many of us are so focused on what can I, me, what can I get from this situation. Look at the endowments of our country. Why have we for 30 years talked repeatedly about diversifying the base of our economy and not having done anything about it? There was a time when it was a standard refrain in a budget speech. Aims of this budget is to diversify the base of the Nigerian economy away from the monocultural dependence on oil. The next year, you will do exactly the same speech. Sometimes I think those people who write those speeches, they may have forgotten how to write something different. But the truth is that our country is endowed, and the endowments vary. And that in each part of this country, and I used to be, some people used to take it personally when I made this point years ago. If you give thinking people Sokoto State, they will make it wealthier than Bayelsa, which is oil. Because it does not take what is down there to get rich. What is really important is that we identify our factor endowments, and they are mapped, they are there. Back in the Babangida years, the Raw Materials Research and Development Council did a mapping of the endowments of the entire country. And if you broke the country into certain geographic regions, and within each geographic region, take the endowments, essentially create an industrial park around which organically a new city will develop, because we need to decongest Lagos and not force people out of it, but attract people away from it. In each zone of the country, you take the endowments, and I have a number of endowments that I enjoy focusing on. Let's say Gom Arabic. I grew up in Guzo, in Bishop Kuka's territory. All around that area is a rich agricultural area. It's Gom Arabic. Do an industrial park around there. And I can tell you, the Chinese have $20 billion looking to do industrial parks in Africa. Senegalese have just put up $40 million as matching funds to attract those to do one industrial park. And you can do an industrial park with all the infrastructure, everything state of the world class in Guzo, focused on its agricultural endowments, Gom Arabic and all of that, and all the way through the value chain. Education in that area will focus on those endowments. Whatever skills you are developing is how to get the most out of Gom Arabic. You go to the North Central. Look, sesame seeds are in the wild. They use it to make soup and everybody just eats away. Whereas every time you eat a McDonald's hamburger in Europe, those things on top of it are sesame seeds. And you can become the leading processor of sesame seeds and exporting and doing a deal with McDonald's and dominating that value chain. and the education around North Central will be based on that. I shouldn't say what I will do. If I could, I'm saying if you wanted, you could actually decentralize the Central Bank of Nigeria so that the regional central banks are focused on interventions that will create those kinds of economies in those regions. And you can go into the South, rubber, palm produce, and you can dominate an area. I am always distressed when I get on these Arik flights to Abuja, and I know that every time we land, 70% of the time, those tires on those Boeing aircraft are made in Malaysia. And Nigeria's rubber endowment is far superior to Malaysia's. And Boeing could be part of a factory in this country that's producing those tires for their flying, and on and on and on like that. Every part of Nigeria has an endowment that could make us immediately forget about the hydrocarbons value chain. But we have been imprisoned by our failure to think, and nothing is more dangerous than not thinking, because that is at the heart of the gift that man has. And so we were born into a society in which we were essentially, fundamentally, originally, peasant farmers. In peasant agriculture, you had a moral economy. And in that moral economy, none was left behind. Somebody tell me in a village in Nigeria 80 years ago that somebody was left out. The moral economy took care of everybody. As we went into the differentiations of the new capitalist economy, we failed to sustain developments of inclusive growth in which everybody was taken care of. And so today, we have a challenging situation with a Gini coefficient, that's the index that measures income distribution in society. Very few people can amass so much. People who do very little work and who employ very few people have 2 private jets parked at the airport. And many people can't find work. It is not Marxist, it is not socialist, it is a non-thinking approach to how society is developed. If we're going to escape the recursive economy mode into which we have found ourselves through the years, we must go for a new thinking in how we can take our modern institutions, how we can develop our value systems, such that those values, insisting that none should be left behind, those institutions creating boundaries that encourage intercourse will bring both local, domestic, and foreign investors, and taking particularly into account the enormous assets that our diaspora constitute, will blend in a way that will make Nigeria claim its true promise, which is to become a high-growth economy that essentially takes its place, claims its promise in waving the flag for the black man. Because until Nigeria can go that way, the dignity of the black person will continue to suffer. And once that continues, we will not be able to live our essence as human beings. So we must do our bit. Nigeria must play its role. Nigeria must mobilize all these resources through leadership that is self-giving, completely giving of themselves, not self-seeking. And in doing that, we will create an economy that our grandchildren can be proud of us for. Thank you very much.